Hello everyone, welcome back to my Flows journey. And yeah, in this live session, we will be reading a book. And today we are reading Siddhartha by Haman Hesre, and we are on chapter 2 with the Samans, right? And yeah, we'll gain a lot about life, about some core values from this lecture, from this book, and also about also we'll also learn some new words which we can use in our daily use. For example, anguish, agony. I know some words. Venerable sir. That means a deeply respectable sir, and deeply you deeply admire that person, right? Venerable parents, right? Yeah. So okay, now we'll resume what we left on yesterday's live session, right? So we'll resume after that. We find comfort, we find numbness, we our feet to deceive us, but the most important thing, the path of the paths we will not find. If only you, if you only. Okay, let's create that. Currently, put that book there. If you only, if only you wouldn't speak such terrible words, Siddhartha spoke Govinda. How could it be that among so many learned men, among so many Brahmins, among so many austere and venerable Samans, among so many who are searching, so many who are eagerly trying, so many holy men, no one will find the path of paths. Path of paths. What is that path of paths? Don't know. Venerable is respectable. Respected. Okay. But Siddhartha, in a voice which contained just as much sadness as mockery, said, Mockery. What is the mockery meaning? Teasing and contempt language or behavior directed at a particular person. Mockery. Sadness as mockery. Radical. Okay. Soon, Govinda, your friend will leave the path for some months. He has walked along with you for so long. I am suffering a thirst. Oh, Govinda, and on this long path of Saman, my thirst has remained as strong as ever. I always trusted for knowledge. I always be full of questions. Okay, what he is saying that you have to learn to, or you need to learn to ask questions. Please ask questions to know more about yourself and surroundings. Be curious to know more. Okay. I think I should change that to again my usual setup, right? I think I love that setup. Don't know why, but yeah, that's the destiny or something else. That setup is very cool. Yeah, but yeah. I have asked the Brahmins year after year, and I have asked the holy Vedas year after year. I have asked devotees summons year after year. Perhaps, O Govinda, it might have been just as well as just as smart and just as profitable if I had asked the hornbill bird or the chimpanzee. It took me a long time, and I have not finished learning this yet. And stop learning, stop learning. Okay, try to learn new things to understand better. Understand better. It took me a long time, and I have not finished learning this yet. Oh Govinda, that there is nothing to be learned. There is indeed no such thing. I believe is what we refer to as learning. There is an omnifin, just one knowledge. There is everywhere. This is everywhere. This is Atma. This is within me and within you and within every creature. And so I am starting to believe that this knowledge has no worse enemy than the desire to know it than learning. At this, Govinda stopped on the path, raised his hand and spoke. If only Siddhartha, you would not bother your friend with this kind of talk. There was stir of fear in my heart, and just consider. Okay, uh, actually, I do not believe in Atma, but some living creature, living thing exists. Thing, yeah. And then what would become of this sanctity of prayer? What of the venerability of the Brahmin's caste? What of the holiness of summons? If it was as you say, if there was no learning, what, Siddhartha, what would then become of all of this that is holy, this that is precious, that is venerable on earth? What would then become of all of this that is holy, that is precious, that is venerable on the earth? Neither. Sanctity, the state of quality of being holy and sacred. Sanctity, tranquility, state of being, state of being holy and sacred. Okay. So, and Govinda mumbled a verse to himself, a verse from an Upanishad. He whose contemplative spirit loses itself in the meditation of Atma, inexpressible in words is the blissfulness of his heart. But Siddhartha remained silent. He thought about the words that Govinda had written and through thought the words through their hand. Yes, he was standing there. This had no what would remain of all that she was to be holy? What remains? What remains? What remains? What can stand the test? What can stand the test? And he shook his head. At one time, when the two young men have lived among the summons for about 3 years and has shared their essays, some news, and humor, and myth, reached them after being retold many times, a man had appeared, Gautama, by name, the exalted one, the Buddha. He had overcome the suffering of the world himself and had halted the cycle of rebirths. Halted. Someone stopped. Please halt that. Halt. Halted. 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 To stop moving, yeah? Please halt it. Hmm, some beard is going down my sides. Okay. He was said to wander through the land, teaching surrounded by disciples. Teaching surrounded by disciples without positions, without home, without wife, and the yellow cloak of an ascetic, but with a cheerful bro, man of bliss, and the Brahman and the princess would bow down before him and would become his rich, aesthetic, live a simpler life, living a simpler life, right? But with chief. Okay, this myth, this rumor, this legend resounded. Its fragrance rose up here and there in the towns. The Brahmins spoke of it, and in the forest, the Samads. Again and again, the name of Gautama the Buddha. Gautama the Buddha reached the ears of the young man with good and with bad talk, with praise and with contempt. Praise express warm approval or admiration. Condemn, comment. Condemn means you have to that now. Condemn, criticize karna, right? Like condemn it. Express one's respect and gratitude toward praise. I really praise that person, right? Express approval. Contempt, meaning a feeling that a person or a thing is worthless or beneath consideration, scorn, disdain, disrespect. Contempt. If, okay, it was as if the plague had broken out on the country. News had been spreading around that in one or another place there was a man, a wise man, a knowledgeable one, whose word and breath was enough to heal everyone who had been infected with the pestilence. Pestilence. What is pestilence? Hmm. What? Okay, fatal epidemic disease. Pestilence means a fatal epidemic disease. And as such, news would go through then, and everyone would talk about it. Many would believe, many would doubt, but many would quit on their way as soon as possible to seek the wise man, the helper. In this manner, the myth ran through the land, that fragrant myth of Gautama the Buddha, the wise man of the family of Sakya. He possessed, so the believers said, the highest enlightenment. He remembered his previous he remembered his previous lives. He had reached nirvana and never returned into the cycle. He had reached nirvana. He had reached nirvana and never returned into the cycle and was never again submerged in the murky river of physical forms. Murky river of physical forms. Murky. Okay, dark and gloomy. Dark and dull. In physical forms. Many wonderful and unbelievable things were reported of him. He had performed miracles, he had overcome the devil, had spoken to the gods, but his enemies and disbelievers said that this Gautama was a vain seducer. He would spend his days in luxuries, pawn people's offerings, was without learning, and knew neither exercises nor self castigation. variance reducer. Or portable internal sexual variance reducer has excessively proud of one's looks abilities. Variance reducer typically is full of self-importance, pride, and his appearance of charm, who uses the charm to attract, manipulate, and mislead. Excessively proud of one's look. Full of self-importance. Ostigation, strong reprimand, or harsh punishment. Harshly criticizing, blaming yourself. Criticism, severe. Self-criticism, self-punishment. Self-reprimand. Okay. Who is Gautama? The myth of Buddha sounded sweet. The scent of magic flowed from these reports. After all, the world was sick. After all, the world was sick. The world was sick. Life was hard to bear, and behold, there a soul seemed to spring forth. Here a messenger seemed to call out, comforting, mild, full of noble promises. Everywhere was the rumor of Buddha heard. Everywhere in the lands of India, the young men listened, felt a longing, felt hope, and among the Brahmins, sons of the towns and the villages, every pilgrim and stranger was welcome. When he brought news of him, the exiled to Andasa, Sakyamuni, exalted. Okay. Exalted means high in rank, grade in exalted. Extremely happy, very important. The myth, it's raining very heavily outside. I am currently in Mumbai, Powai. So, mm, like for for almost 5 days, it's raining continuously. It is raining continuously for 5 days. It has been raining continuously for 5 days. So the weather is extremely cold and not extremely cold, but the weather is cold and I am having cough and cold. I'm taking medicines, but yeah, you know that you know for me the cough is not easily curable disease, right? Takes a month or a fortnight, right? But yeah, I will take medicines and I'm drinking warm water and yeah, I'm not eating. So so oily and the stingy foods. Eating just vegetables, parathas. Paratha means a simple Indian roti and yeah, Indian breads and yeah, fruits and that's all. I'm not eating any fast food, any packaged food, right? Cause packaged food will cost you something, and I'm on a challenge that I'm on a challenge that I'm on a challenge, and the challenge is no packaged food for 30 days and no and an exercise for 30 days. 30 days exercise challenge and 30 days no packaged food challenge and 30 days no cheap dopamine challenge, right? These are things I learned from reading books, and one of the best books I ever learned, I ever read was Atomic Habits, Compound Effect. Atomic Habits and Compound Effect literally change your uh, mind and rewire your neurons. Like it rewires your neurons and it will like actually make make impact in your life. These values, these core values, this will actually change your core values. This will actually change how you think about habits, how you uh, pursue your life. You means you are completely changed. You are completely changed after that. After implementing the actions, not just by reading. You have to implement the actions. You have to take actions. So, so my one of the best things, or for, means one of the best things in every person is if they are taking actions. They are not just listening or just reading books. If they are taking actions, then it's literally like a blast or literally you are going to skyrocket your career and your entire life, right? So that's it. So taking action is one of the best thing. Taking action and plus consistency. So you will be skyrocket. This is just what we learn from reading books. Because one idea will change your entire life. And Atomic Habits will literally or has literally changed my entire life. And currently I'm also doing that. Means that the core value is uh, what do we say that scripted or like carved in my body, right? That core value is carved out in your body as a deep embedded in my body, right? And no one can take me out that. No one can take this core value from me, right? Take this out, right? Okay, let's again. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to start that Pomodoro. Okay, yeah, I think it's 25 minutes. We had 2 3 minutes over there. Okay, the myth has also reached the Samans in the forest, and also Siddhartha and also Govinda. Slowly, drop by drop, every drop laden with hope, every drop laden with doubt, laden. Oh shit, laden. You need to understand what the meaning of laden is. Really loaded. Laden. Laden means loaded. Oh, that's interesting. Heavily loaded. Okay. They really talked about it because the oldest one of the Samans did not like this myth. He had heard that this alleged Buddha used to be an ascetic before and he had lived in the forest but had then turned back to the luxury and worldly pleasure. He had no high opinion of this Gautama. O Siddhartha, Govinda spoke one day to his friend. Today I was in the village and a Brahmin invited me into his house, and in his house there was the son of a Brahmin from Magadha who has seen the Buddha with his own eyes and has heard him teach. Verily, this made my chest ache. This my This made my chest ache when I breathed in and thought to myself, if only I too would, if only we both, Siddhartha and I, could live to see the hour when we hear the teachings from the mouth of this perfected man speak. Friend, wouldn't we want to go there to listen to the teachings from the Buddha's mouth? God, Siddhartha, always a Govinda I had taught. Govinda would stay with the Samans. Always I had believed his goal was to live to be 60 and 70 years of age and to keep on practicing those feats and exercises which are becoming of a Samana. But I had not known Govinda well enough. I knew little of his art. So now you, my faithful friend, want to take a new path and go there where the Buddha spreads his teachings. Govinda, you are mocking me. Mock me if you like. Okay, you are mocking me. What's that mean? I'm not mocking you. When you are you meaning, bro. I wanted to know the meaning. I don't mocking you. Means you're making fun of me in a mean or a disrespectful way. Making fun of me. Fun in a or meaningful. Mean and disrespectful way. I should stop right there for again I should now my Pomodoro starts a 5 minute short break. I will see you later. So yeah, I will turn off my I will turn off my video and sound and I will come back after 5 minutes. Then you can also do your work, do some meditation, right? अभी भी आ रही है क्या यार बारिश कितनी बारिश हुई है यार 4 1 2 3 yeah now that's not that much rain. So I can go can do this that is where but just watching these yeah the very high wind is the wind is blowing extreme wind with No, that direction, suddenly that direction. It's not. It's not a typical barish, or it's not a typical rain. Yeah, you need to now again direction changes suddenly. And you take an auto, right? I must take auto for that seasons, that type of season because you are not. You are vulnerable to diseases in that weather. Something like you have many communicable diseases during that weather. So don't sit with other people and don't talk too much with the people in that seasons or in that monsoon union, the main direction of wind changed. Direction of wind changed. Okay, now again, let's start this session, bro. Okay, I'm audible, right? Okay, so what Govinda said is, oh, you are mocking me? Mock me if you like, Siddhartha, but you have not also developed the desire and eagerness to hear these teachings, and you have not at one time said to me, you would not walk the path of the Samans much longer. At this, Siddhartha laughed in his very own manner, in which his voice assumed a touch of sadness and a touch of mockery, and said, well, Govinda, you have spoken well. You have remembered correctly. If you only remembered that all other things as well that you have heard from me, which is, I have grown distrustful and tired against teachings and learnings, and that my faith in words, which are brought to us by teachers, is small. But let's do it, my dear. I am willing to listen to these teachings, though in my heart I believe that we have already tasted the best fruits of these teachings. Quoted Govinda, your willingness delights my heart. But tell me, how should this be possible? How should the Gautama's teachings, even before we have heard them, have already revealed their best fruit to us? Let us eat this fruit and wait for the rest. Oh Govinda, but this fruit which we already now received thanks to the Gautama, considered it calling us away from the Samans. Whether he is also other and better things to give us, oh friend, let us wait with calm heart to see. On this very same day, Siddhartha informed the oldest son of the Samanas on this decision that he wanted to leave him. He informed the oldest son of with all the courtesy and modesty coming to a younger one. This with courtesy and modesty. Courtesy means polite behavior and good manners. Politeness, respectfulness. Humility, simplicity, honesty. How to see yourself. How you see yourself, how you treat others. But the Samana became angry because the two young men wanted to leave him and talked loudly and used crude words. Govinda was startled and became embarrassed, but Siddhartha put his mouth close to Govinda's ears and whispered him, "Now I want to show the old man that I have learned something from him." Positioning himself closely in front of the Samana with concentrated soul, he captured the old man's glance with his look. He deprived him of his powers, made him mute, took away his free will, subdued him under his own will, commanded him to do silently whatever he bid him to do. The old man became mute, his eyes became motionless, his will was paralyzed, his arms were hanging down. Without power, he had fallen victim to Siddhartha's spell. But Siddhartha's thoughts brought the Samana under his control. He had to carry out what they commanded. And thus the old man with several bows performed gestures of blessings, spoke stammeringly, cordially wished for a good journey, stammeringly, stammeringly, which is like you speak it pauses. Mumbling, remember, mumbling is mumbling. Okay, speak quietly and unclearly so that words are difficult to hear. Stammeringly is okay. The speak with pauses, repetition or hesitation, often due to nervousness or speech difficulty. Stammer, speaking in hesitant and stumbling way. Speaking in um, with pauses, repetition. Okay, and the young man returned the bowl with thanks, returned the wish, went on the salutation. On the way, Gurja said, Siddhartha, you have learned more from the samana than I knew. It is very hard to cast a spell on an old samana. Truly, if you had stayed there, you would soon have learned to walk on water. I don't seek to walk on water, said Siddhartha. Let old samana be content with such feats. Let old samana be content with such feats. Spell. Magic spell. There is no such magic spell. Can you spell your name for me? Cast a spell. Cast a spell. Meaning. Okay. Right later, a short period of time, magical charm or to take over for someone, temporary to take over for someone. So spell. Perform magical act using words, rituals, gestures, or to produce an supernatural effect. Figurative. Fascinate. Use magic or deeply attract, mesmerize someone. It is very hard to cast a spell on and always. There are something really nice. Just unpack it. Literally means to use magic or some magic on someone. A wandering monk. Samana. Shaman. Shaman. Oh, shaman, bro. Shaman. Wandering monk. Shaman. Shamana. Difficult influence. Such a spiritually disciplined actually person cannot be easily deceived. Oh. spiritually, spiritually disciplined slash experience person is or cannot deceive easily. Okay, we have reached the third chapter, which is Gautama. I can show to you like this. Hmm. Okay, let me see the time. Okay, we have 15 more minutes. And, that's it. Okay, Gautama. In the town of Savatthi, every child knew the name of the exalted Buddha, and every house was prepared to fill the alms dish of Gautama's disciples, the silently packing ones. Near the town was Gautama's favorite place to stay, the grove of Jetavana, Jetaran, which, with which the rich merchant Anath, Anathapindika, an Norwegian worshipper of the exalted one, had given him and his people as a gift. All the tales and the answers which the two young ascetics had received in their search for Gautama's and job had pointed toward the sea. A job or a bot, a dobby, a bird, bot, and a place where someone lives. Okay, a formal literally word for home, home or residence. Now you wanted. Oh, hmm. Has pointed them toward this area. Having arrived at Savarahi in the very first house before the door of which they stopped to beg, food was offered to them, and they accepted the food. And Siddhartha asked the woman who handed them the food. Who handed them the food? We would like to know, oh charitable one, where the Buddha, the most venerable one, dwells. What does the money? Okay. Siddhartha asked the woman who handed them the food. And we would like to know, oh charitable one, where the Buddha, the most venerable one, dwells. For we are two Samans from the forest and have come to see him, the perfected one, and to hear the teaching from his mouth. Quoth the woman, we have truly come to the right place. You Samans from the forest, you should know, in Chetavana in the garden of Anathapindika is where the exalted one dwells. There you pilgrims shall spend the night, for there is enough space for innumerable that flock there to hear the teaching of Islam. Pilgrims flock is adjourned flock there. Flock there. Who travels to a sacred or religious place. Traveler on a spiritual journey. Flock means a group of peoples, large group moving to another place. This made Govinda happy and full of joy. He exclaimed, "So we have reached our destination, our path has come to an end. But tell us, O mother of the pilgrims, do you know him, the Buddha? Do you have seen him with your own eyes?" But the woman, "Many times I have seen him, the exalted one. So many days, exalted one, and very exalted, exalted, high rank, noble." On many days I have seen him walking through the alleys in silence, wearing his yellow robe, presenting his arms stretched in silence at the doors of the house, and loving with a filled touch. Delightedly, Govinda listened and wanted to ask and hear much more, but Siddhartha urged him to walk on. They thanked her and left, and hardly had to ask for directions, for rather many pilgrims and monks who were from Gautama's community were on their way to the Chetavan. They reached it at night, and so there were constant rival shouts and talks of those who sought shelter and got it. The two Samans, accustomed to life in the forest, found quickly and without making any noise a place to stay and rest there until the morning. Okay, at sunrise they saw with astonishment what a large crowd of believers and curious people had spent the night there. On all parts of the marvelous grove, monks walked in yellow robes under the trees. They sat in deep contemplation or conversation about spiritual matters. The shady gardens looked like a city full of people, bustling like bees. Bustling like bees. Is, is a smile comparing, is a simile comparing people to bees. Activity, movement, and energy. Humming with activity, busy activity. Movement. The majority of the monks went out with their arms to collect food for their lunch, the only meal of the day. The Buddha himself, the enlightened one, was also in the habit of drinking this walk to prayer in the morning. Alms, dish, khali katora, or used to a dish bowl or container used to collect offerings or donations, especially for the poor or religious purposes. Alms dish. Okay, bowl for pose or. slash monks. Okay. Siddhartha saw him and he instantly recognized him as if God had pointed him out. He saw him, a simple man in a yellow robe, bearing the arm dish in his hand, walking silently. Look there, Siddhartha said quietly to Govinda. This is the Buddha. Govinda looked at the monk in the yellow robe and he was seen in no different way from the hundreds of other monks. And soon Govinda also realized the stone and he followed him and observed him. They followed him and observed him. The Buddha went on his way, humbly, deep in thought, his calm face neither happy nor sad. He seemed to smile quietly and inwardly, with a hidden smile resembling that of a healthy child. The Buddha walked, wearing the robe and placing his feet just as all of his monks did, according to a precise rule. But his face and his walk lowered, is quietly lowered, is quietly dangling head. But his face and his walk is quietly, completely lowered, glances quietly dangling hands, and even every finger of his completely dangling hand expressed peace, expressed perfection, did not search, did not imitate, breathed softly in an unwavering calm and unwavering light and untouchable peace. Thus Gautama walked towards the town to collect alms, and the two Samas recognized him solely by the perfection of his calm, by the quietness of his appearance, in which there was no searching, no desire, no imitation, and no effort to seem, only light and peace. Today we will hear the teaching from his mouth, said Govinda. Okay, that's it. So much. Yeah, already done 53 minutes. Stop streaming. Okay, firstly, Siddhartha was highly fascinated by the teachings of Buddha and highly fascinated by the calmness or tranquility of the state of being calm, right? So yeah, he wanted to see him. Uh, he wanted to learn from Buddha. He wanted to end this ending, this to end the never-ending loop or to end inevitable loop of his life, which is the loop of life or the life loop. Okay, and yeah, that's interesting, and the story is crazy. Yeah, and the Herman Hesse is written well. His English is very good. His vocabulary is very good, and now, and I'm also learning many new words like venerable, some different words, right? Halted, some new words like, for example, today what I learned was exalted. This ranking in hand, pilgrims, arm dishes. So yeah, he's very good at writing things. Okay, then see you soon in the next live session. And please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, right? Okay, I don't know. I don't give a fuck if more subscriber subscribe. I will always create content, and it's just for me, for myself to. Uh, it's a motivation for me to read the book because this channel gives me the motivation to read a book, right? So yeah, I will always read the book. I will always read books and give you some insights what and also some new vocabularies that the authors use and why they use it. So yeah, in a very detailed way, right? For example, they use modesty and uh, yeah, he used the term modesty and the new word is modesty and courtesy. Courtesy is how you treat other peoples. For example, how you treat are you treating them in a polite way or in a respectful way? Do you treat people politely and respectfully? And the second word is modesty, which is how you see yourself. Means you are humble in yourself, you are simple. Means I'm expressing myself is is a different type of adjectives or a different type of adjective are there for expressing yourself, and there are different type of adjectives for treating other peoples. So don't mix these things, right? Yeah. Bye bye. See you soon. I'm just okay. If you wanted to know what I'm reading, yeah, this is the book. You can also start reading that. This book is incredibly well. It will give you so much learnings. Yeah. Okay. Bye bye.